ready to come up. And for those who weren't here when he was last, maybe the time before, anyway, he is now a fully licensed practitioner of religious science. And he is moving in the direction of affiliation as a science prime minister. Congratulations, dear one. And truth is, I only came up to introduce him because that way I got an extra club. We know he's awesome.
So how is everyone today? So there's a holiday coming up, which is
Halloween.
Halloween. Now when we think of Halloween, we think of what?
Costumes and candy.
Costumes and candy. Some people think about the ghosts and the ghouls, etc., right? So Tracy, Sarah, and I were recently in New York this past weekend. And one of the things that we were looking for, I'm going to admit, was a haunted house. Simply for the fact that I wanted to enjoy watching Sarah be scared. Now I mention this because Sarah is, for those who do not know, Sarah is one of our really close friends, and she's a sheriff, PG County Sheriff. And we were talking about this thing called fear. Now, as a sheriff, she sees all kinds of things on any given day. And she said that never scares her. Someone pulling a gun out never scares her. Showing up at a crime scene never scares her. Showing up at a house where there's been a huge call for some domestic violence thing, where someone's on site, armed and dangerous, never scares her. But the what if there's something in the closet scares her. The imagination and what if scares her. And it made me start thinking about this entire concept of we are whole, we are perfect, we are complete. And yet, we are still a work in progress. And what in the world does that mean? If I'm already whole, perfect, and complete, then there's nothing else for me to do. Yes. However, it's almost like, anybody in here familiar with martial arts, like karate or judo or something? It took me many years in studying martial arts to realize that in Japan, they have two colors of belt. White and black. That's it. All the other colors showed up once it came to America, because the American mindset wants, you need to show me the progress that I'm making as I'm going through this thing. So I don't want to be this for 10 years and need some. So we created these belts so that people could show progress. But in Japan, it's white, and you stay a white belt. And over years, the white belt becomes dirty, and becomes gray, and becomes dark. And then they know that you are now a master. And then you get the black belt, and you have the black belt for years and years until it now fades and becomes gray and white. So you're always in this process of beginner to master, and yet always the beginner. So yes, we are all perfect and complete. And we're still going to have days and moments when that amazing thing called fear jumps up at us. Now, if I were to ask, and I'm not, but if I were to ask for a sign of hands on how many of us enjoy being afraid, being scared, being fearful. We don't, unless you're a roller coaster junkie and every now and then you want to get on something, you're like, can we do it again? So yes, some of us, we are thrill seekers. Now, there are people who perform, who right before you perform, you have the nerves, right? Which some people will refer to as fear. But it's the kinetic energy of, I'm ready to do what I'm called to do. But there's this thing, let's talk about this thing called fear, that we don't like feeling. However, it's a good thing. And I say it's a good thing because it reminds us that in this moment right here, I'm in my human self. I'm in my potential ego self. And think of it like a smoke detector. When something's going on in the house and there's smoke, beep, 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 it signals the alarm to let you know, I put toast in, the toast is burning again. And we go and we put it out. This thing shows up to say, I'm scared. In that moment, I have forgotten that I am the I am. Because if I was really grounded in the I know, then there's nothing to fear. Nothing. That means if I go to the doctor and the doctor says, so Ray, we did the test and the test came back and you have about 6 months. Ooh, the human side is like, oh, wow. But if I'm in this side of, I know that I know that I know, then I also know there is no death. So there's nothing to fear. Because simply going from this side of the veil to this side is no different than caterpillar to butterfly. And if I know that I know that I know, then there's nothing to fear in shedding the flesh any more than there is. Reverend Trish, I'm scared to let go of this shirt. I love this shirt. I've had this shirt for 50 years. I really don't want to let it go. What's going to happen when I give it away? It's the same thing. We simply shed the garment and go on to the next phase. What is there to fear when I go to get a job but what if they tell me no? The no could be a yes to the next greater thing. Sometimes going on this interview and having them say, well, we looked over your resume and you're really not qualified. Thank you. Get out. You're fired. And we find on our way down the elevator, down the escalator, outside to the bus stop, we bump into someone who's the CEO of some company and they say, wow, you look really spiffy. Did you have an interview today? Yeah, but I didn't get the job. So what do? Well, I'm a visual artist. I was just on my way to place an ad to find what you do. Sometimes the no is the yes. But if we're afraid, then we can't surrender. And if we can't surrender, then we're holding on diligently. We're like a little kid that wants to go swimming, but is afraid to let go of dry land to get in the water. So we stick a toe for 4 hours, wishing and dreaming and watching our friends play and swim, but I'm afraid to let go of what I know. And there's a whole list of things that we are fearful of rejection, fearful of fear, fearful of forgiving, there's a whole list of them. And if we really sit down and say, what is it that I'm really afraid of? Somewhere way down here, one of the layers, one of the levels is that you are far greater than you imagine yourself to be. And that's really, really terrifying to some of us on some level. Because once again, being a nerd, loving Spider-Man, it's also in the Bible, the line of, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, when you find out that you have wings, you know, what did Ruby say? Why in the world are you crawling around when you have wings to fly? Because there's something about, but I'm so used to this thing. I'm so used to this thing called walking that what is it going to mean to say, I'll hop in the way? But that's what we're called to be. We're called to something greater. Where in all of creation is limit the norm? If we were to assess any botanist in the room, Any gardeners? If we were to sit down and say, how many types of trees are across the face of this planet? 1? 4? I mean, if we go to the Amazon alone, we're going to find hundreds, if not thousands, of species of tree. That's just a tree. That's not talking about flowers and other vegetation. It's not talking about animals. I mean, look at dogs. Any dog lovers in the room? Dogs. How many breeds of dog exist? Everything in nature is vastness. Everything in nature shows and demonstrates this amazing thing called diversity and creativity and continuing and continuing and continuing. So when we step into this place of, I know that I'm whole, I know that I'm perfect, I know that I'm complete, and I acknowledge that I'm a work in progress, we open up to this consciousness that says all that God is, all that source is, all that creation is moving in us and through us and showing up as us. That means the moment we realize that we are both the artist, the work of art, and the entire artistic process all in one physical body temple, the amazing stuff that opens up to becoming created through us. Maybe this is the Pollyanna in me, but I have no reason in my consciousness to say, 1, war could end this year if we wanted it to. Right? And you know, people normally say, we can end it in this generation. Yeah, we can. But I'm saying it's the end of October. If we wanted it to end, we could all wake up Monday morning and say, we, in our consciousness, have no need for this anymore. And from Monday morning, meaning tomorrow, for the rest of infinity, there is no such thing. To the degree that 10 years from now, children in school are opening books saying, wait a minute, Nana, Papa, you mean when you were a kid there was this thing called war? People actually fought? Yes, a long time ago, and we evolved. We transcended beyond that. But the moment we step into that human side, that fierce side, the side that says, if she were to insult me, I have to insult back. Because that's what humanity says we're supposed to do. What did many of our parents teach us? If you're bullied, if someone hits you, if you come back in this house, young man, after Bobby hit you, I'm going to hit you harder. Go back out there and hit Bobby again. So there are a lot of things that we are taught that are war consciousness. But if we end that aspect in our own mind, knowing there is only one mind, then as Reverend Trish says at the end of service, go out and infect the world with love. The moment I have this thought in my mind that I not simply have no need or use for war, because to do that I still have to have war in my mind. Peace. Peacefulness. Calm. Grace. Joy. Then I ended it. Now, a couple of months ago, I'm walking down either Constitution Avenue or Pennsylvania Avenue, I don't remember which one. And as I'm walking, a pickup truck drives past me. Well, it's behind me. And as it's driving up, I hear some young men screaming out the N-word. Now, I'm in my own mind because I just had a conversation with a friend and we're, I'm still skating on high consciousness stuff because we talk about meditation and stuff. And I hear it. And the car gets here, the truck gets here, and I hear it louder, and then I realize they're talking to me. And I look over, and they're red-faced and shaking fist, and you effing and and I simply froze. And my very, 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 very first thought was, I'm so glad I'm not telekinetic. Because my very first thought was, I would have flipped the truck. That was my first thought is, I'm so glad I don't have either pyrokinetic skills or telekinetic skills. But then my immediate next thought was, breathe. People around me are like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Then they continue to drive and there's a red light and they get stopped at the red light. And there's the thought of, do I continue to walk and receive this because they're still screaming? Or do I stay where I am, breathe, know the truth for myself and for them, and truth? And that's what I did. I stopped right there where I was. Out loud, there's only one power and only one presence right here throughout all of creation, including that truck, including those young men. God, the good, omnipotence itself. People look at me like, that man done lost his mind. But in that moment, I was at peace in the midst of chaos. That's how I know that it's possible. Now, if I had yielded and went into that, then yeah, under construction sign may be on the building a little longer than initially intended. But I was able to step out and say, but the first 4 or 5 floors are renovated. They're good. We don't need to go back and smash any walls. Now let's go to the next set of floors. In any moment that we feel anger, fear, anxiety, it's a moment for us to say, what's really going on with me? Rather than yielding and going into it. And now, there's a difference between feeling it and giving it the opportunity to breathe, to be respected, because if it's showing up for a reason. Don't hey, fear, anger, get away from me. I'm more enlightened than that. I don't need you. It's going to go somewhere and start burrowing tunnels down in the foundation of the building until the house caves in. Come here. What's going on? What's wrong? Okay, what are you upset about? Oh yeah, I hear you. Feel it. Let grace do what grace does to that. Dissolve it back into the nothingness from whence it came. But if we ignore it, we're giving it life. We're actually letting it create a body and an energy form that then can haunt us for years. The abuse that I felt at the hands of family or friends when I was 7 or 8. Failure to give it voice means that trauma stands with me right here today. And when I say, I would really love to be a vocalist and sing, what do? They cover my mouth and say, but you can't. We got this. He's stupid. I don't know why he's saying this. He can't hold it. Because I've given them the opportunity to become alive. And then they live through me and for me, rather than letting the truth live through me and for me and as me. So respect them. And then watch them fade away. And then step into the truth of knowing, even though I don't feel whole, there's a part of me that knows that I am. Even though I don't feel complete, there's a part of me that knows that I am. Even though I don't feel love, there's a part of me that's all it is. And that's the under construction thing. Imagine if any of us decided that we wanted to build our own house. we go to the architect and we describe what we want, and we tell them this is the plot of land that I want it built on, and they say, okay, and they go back and they draw, and we look at it and we're like, oh my God, look at the drawings, it's beautiful. How long is this going to take? 2 years. Do we drive past the acreage where the house is going to be built and look at the empty lot and say, I'm never going to have that house? Or do we look at the empty lot seeing the house already built, knowing I'm getting ready to move in? You can't see it yet, but I already know what's getting ready to be there. The moment we do that with our lives, it has no choice but to show up. Because once it's placed in our mind, the mind of God, because the mind that we use is the same mind, it's already fully formed there. In the same way the architect has fully rendered it, it's already done. Here, just not there yet. But that and this will have no choice by law of architectural design, has no choice but to show up. And in the same way, that which we place in the mind of God by law has no choice but to fully manifest, demonstrate. We will attract the right people, the right phone calls, the right connections, the right everything, and it shows up. So how do we do this in our regular everyday life? Be very mindful of what we feel, because that's sort of our internal GPS, our God positioning system that says, am I on this side with the I am, or I am on this side with the I am not? Where are we generating our directions from? And if I am in this side of the I am not perfect, I am not smart, I heard myself say it. I caught it this time. Normally I don't catch it. I heard you this time. But I know that I am perfect even though I don't feel it, but I know that I am. And every time we step here to the I know that I am, the I am not gets a little less loud, a little less prominent, a little less powerful. And then we're able to walk from this place of I'm moving and having my beingness as the Christ consciousness, as Buddha consciousness, as the I am that I am. And that's when, what Reverend Trish talks about when she says, go out and infect folks with love. You can't do that if you don't have it in you. No one goes up to someone and says, I don't really have a cold, but I'm going to sneeze and host it. No one does that. So you can't give to someone else what you don't have. So you have to literally become so filled with this thing called love, this thing called life, that the moment you walk into a room, light. The moment you walk into the room, like cologne, love emanates from your being. The moment you go into Starbucks and you just want to I just want a salad and a water. And the cashier, the barista, there's just something about the way you said, can I get a water and a salad? And they heard something underneath the words that said, and I love you. And I see the divine in you. All I did was ask for water and salad, and they heard, but I see you. I hear you. That's when we know that we know that we know. One thing Ernest Holmes says with Willis Kinnear, we should always be breaking down old patterns of thought and creating new ones of a greater vision. Old thoughts, everything that I am not, everything that limits me, everything that tells me that I'm small or untalented or not enough. Renovate, transcend, transmute to know a greater vision. Because whatever it is, if I were to say, if money were not an issue, fear were not an issue, your background were not an issue, whatever is not an issue, what would you do starting tomorrow morning? Whatever that thing is, know that however big it is, there's always something bigger, greater, and grander. Simply because you are God in form. And God doesn't play small. Remember what I said before, how many grains of sand on a beach? How many different types of beaches? How many types of birds? Everything in creation is large. So are you. Everything in creation is magnificence itself. So are you. That's true. In this moment of simply breathing and allowing ourselves to be breathed, we ground. And the truth that I know is right here between this inhale and exhale, there is a pause. And in this pause, there is infinity. That as my heart beats, as it expands and as it contracts, there is a moment of pause. And in that pause, there is forever. And this infinity and this forever is God itself, creation itself. And what I know for myself is that as I yield and surrender and allow this presence and power, this magnificence, this love itself to express itself in me, through me, with me, and as me, that there is nothing, no man, no woman, no circumstance, no situation that can ever deny, denounce, detract, or decay the power and presence, the oneness that I am as creation, the oneness that I am as source. And what I know is that what I speak for myself is also true for each and every one of us as well. There is only one. There is only love. There is only God. And as I yield and allow myself to be it, miracles and magic happen in my regular everyday life. It is with gratitude that I know that these words that I speak are not simply the words of Raymont speaking, but they are the words of the universe speaking through me, in me, and as me. And knowing this, I know that they are true. This is why, with great confidence and trust, I can release them into the law, knowing that they are already fully formed, already manifesting and demonstrating, already so. So I release them knowing it is done, it is whole, it is perfect, it is complete for myself and for everyone here as well. And together we say, Amen, and so it is.
So it is.